Okay, let's just get sexting them before
Drops
you've
it.
kissed.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Have you sexted someone you
Sick.
haven't kissed?
Yes. No.
Oh, you're like a pervert. Hello and welcome to Seriously with Sarah Beanie. Let's face it, having open and honest conversations with your family isn't always easy, but on this podcast, that's exactly what we're going to do. This week, we're discussing dating, Nepo babies, and last wishes. I'm here with two of my sons, Billy and Charlie. So do you think growing up that we've had conversation about difficult topics? Do you think that there's been an open conversation?
I think maybe sometimes too open.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
There's been some oversharing from you and Dad, definitely.
Oh, do you think too much? So do you wish we'd just
Well,
not?
I mean, it's not very nice to hear, but it's probably educated me in the long run, I'll say.
So you're not better off for
I
it?
think
Difficult conversations, but I think definitely conversations that have made me a better human being.
I think it's really nice that we have that we are so open as a family. I think I think we're quite lucky because I know that not everyone has that relationship with their family and their parents.
Have there been
So I think
any
we're quite-
moments where you thought, actually, it'd be really nice
Yeah.
to not?
Yeah,
Yeah,
quite a lot.
Yeah.
Quite a lot of quite a lot of conversations.
Yeah, where I'm like, maybe actually it would be nicer if we didn't, if we weren't so open.
Okay. And do you
But-
think that you're better off overall? The friends of yours that you know, have you got friends who don't?
I think that you have to. I think that you always have to have someone, and I think the more people, the better that you can have a difficult conversation with. Because I think that's what it's about. If you're going through something, or if you need someone to speak to, the more people you speak to about it, the better.
So
Because then you feel.
do you think there's some people who don't have anyone to talk to?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's why I think we're so lucky, in that we have parents that we can speak to,
But if you can talk to your friends.
and then I've got friends that I can speak to.
But what was that?
I'm just saying that not everyone has friends.
As fortunate as you.
Not everyone has friends that they can speak to.
Charlie's got a friend.
I've got friends. Got loads of friends.
You do?
Yeah, I do.
No, I know.
Can you get your hand off me? Got loads of friends.
I know.
Stop.
It's okay.
So that he can talk to me. So this is our podcast, Seriously. And today's subject and topic that I thought we'd talk about is dating and what you think happened when I was young and dating, and also what I think you do now in terms of dating, which seems to be really bizarre because people seem to be dating and going out and then they're not.
What was dating like in your when you were our age?
Do you know I've never been on a date? It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah, you have. I remember you telling me about a date.
Which one?
You were, maybe it doesn't count as a date. Someone took you on a boat, and then the boat broke.
Oh, you.
And then and then he
yes.
forced you to climb through a bramble bush whilst he sat in the boat to go and rescue him.
Yeah, that was a date. That was a rubbish date, actually. That was rubbish. Yeah, he said he could sail. It was only a small sailing boat, but he couldn't sail, so we just got blown into a bramble bush. and then he said, get out and go and get help. So off I went. What an idiot. Then
Did you
one
go
I
on a
didn't
second date?
No, didn't. No, that was the...
Fair
no,
enough.
That was
Yeah, I think that's fair. That
yeah,
seems
that was
fair.
the only day. But dates, I always had this dream when I was young. I always imagined that I'd go on a date, and this is how it went. So someone said, will you go on a date with me? And I'd say yes. And I lived in London at the time, and I thought, oh, they'll send a black cab prepaid for, obviously, and the black cab would arrive at the door, and then the cabbie would get out and say, oh, your cab's outside. And then I'd get in the taxi, and then I'd arrive at a restaurant, and they'd be there. And it would be like a film in a sepia, probably, actually. I'd probably have blurry eyes. And anyway, and then I'd get out, and then we'd have dinner, which would be lovely. And then they'd pay for it. And then they'd put me in a black cab, which they'd say to the taxi driver, oh, here's some money, keep the change, take her home. Does sound nice, doesn't it?
Sounds like quite a boring date.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, no, it sounded really, that was like from a film. I can imagine that in a
I
film.
feel like dinner would be quite a tough first date if you didn't know the person.
Well,
Don't
no,
you wanna
because
be
What happens
doing
if they were
something?
really boring?
well, then hopefully you'd go quite quickly. But you don't have to. Well, there's a new thing because you never went on. I don't think a date is. You couldn't have had a date if you hadn't met them before. That's what is different. So in my day, you wouldn't go on a date if you hadn't met before, because how would you have ever met them? So you'd meet them somewhere and they'd say, would you like to go on a date?
But you've only met them once though. And that's not really...
And it could have been very brief. It could have been, hi, I think you're really good looking. Do you want to go on a date with me on the date? Do you know what I mean? Could have just been that.
I suppose that's true. I hadn't really thought it through that far,
So then you don't know them. They could be really boring.
They could be really boring. There was someone who was really boring and I fell asleep at the table once, but that wasn't really a date.
That's mean.
That
That's quite mean.
It was quite mean. But I thought I was being really nice. And I realised he thought it was a date. So I was working in a pub and I was only about 18. And there was this really old man, I thought, but he was probably only 50 or something. But anyway, really old man. He came in every week and he had his supper at the end of the bar. And I felt really sorry for him. So I used to chat to him and I'd say, oh, so do you have any family? He said, no. And I said, oh, so do you ever have supper with anyone else? And he went, no, always on my own. And I said, oh, I'll come and have supper with you, which I now realise I was such an idiot because I thought that was just a nice thing to do.
Beginning of Baby Reindeer.
Yeah.
It was, anyway, what an idiot, because he said, oh, that would be lovely. So we went on this, it wasn't a date.
Was it at the pub?
I thought I was doing some charity work. No, it was in a restaurant.
Oh.
And then he ordered a bottle of champagne and I thought, oh, that's quite generous. What a nice man. But he didn't drink. So I drank the whole bottle of champagne. I fell asleep in my pasta. Had to go home. So that was a really bad, that wasn't even a date, actually. I don't know why I'm talking about that. That's not a date. That's not dating. That's charity work.
That's not dating.
Yeah. I got
How did you meet Dad? Tell us about
Dad, oh God, Dad. Well, met Dad because he was Uncle Dickon, so my brother had a decorating business and he'd employed Dad to decorate some railings. And then he rang me at work and said, oh, I've got to get this contract done and we're meant to be finished today. So I pretended I had a tummy ache and got off work and then went and helped paint the railings. I was really funny that day. I mean, so funny, literally full of wit and banter. Then on the way home, he was quite cool actually, because on the way home, I said, do you want to lift? He laughed at all my jokes. So I was talking to Dickon,
talking about charity work.
No, I was just being terribly funny. And I could hear him keep laughing from the floor below, painting the railings, thinking, oh, he obviously thinks I'm really funny. That's marvellous. So off to a lift home. And then we pulled up this traffic lights and he was next to me and there was a flower stall and I said, oh, jump out and buy me a dozen red roses, would you? And he opened the door and got out. And I thought, oh, I mean, I was really joking. I hadn't actually spoken to him. And he got out and got back in and went, there you are. And I went, oh, thanks. Anyway, I thought that was,
that's quite cool.
That's quite cool, actually.
It was quite cool.
Maybe we don't give Dad enough credit for being cool.
No, he was quite cool. I was a bit sold then. Obviously, I had to pretend I wasn't.
Yeah.
So that sounds quite like it. That sounds quite like a date, though. Much better than.
Was it a date? No, it was a lift home.
Yeah, but I feel like sometimes a date's always a bit forced. If it just happens, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When it happens.
But then you need to be out meeting people for it to just happen, don't you?
What do people do? What do people do now? What's the cinema's a classic.
Cinema.
People go to the cinema.
Have you been on a date to a cinema?
I've been to the cinema.
You have?
I remember watching Despicable Me 2 at the cinema.
On a date.
Shouldn't have gone to watch that film though because it was too good.
Did you snog?
No, I didn't. I was too invested in the film.
Well, hang on, you went on a date to the cinema and you were too into the film.
No, there is a danger with that kind of thing.
What
that?
That's forget you're on a date.
Or maybe I didn't really get the option of a snog, or I can't remember. It's all a bit blurry.
Maybe you tried.
Yeah, but I think it sounds better if I was more invested in the film. I think that sounds better.
Yeah.
So have you been to the cinema? Do you think the cinema's a good date?
I've been to the cinema. Went to the cinema in Yeovil. I actually think I was following in Billy's footsteps going there.
And did you
Your
snog?
older brother.
I did actually.
Oh,
see. Went to Nando's first. I think that's what it was.
Nando's is
it's a bit of an aphrodisiac, isn't it? Nando's.
Well, only if you both have it, probably. Do you think some people struggle to talk to their parents or parent about dating? And why do you think that is?
Yeah, no, I definitely had trouble with it when I was younger.
Talking to me?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Who did you
When I
talk to
was-
more, Dad or me?
None of you.
Oh.
But then I did have 3 brothers, so I didn't feel and he's older than me, so he had kind of experienced everything.
Yeah,
that I've
that's nice.
experienced.
I was the oldest, so I had no one to talk to. So I had to turn to mum and dad.
Which is why you were so weird for so long.
Probably.
Well,
And
it's
still
brilliant
are.
advice from me.
Probably.
Was it helpful, my advice?
Sometimes.
Just sometimes.
Yeah.
No.
I do remember once going to mum with advice, and I was saying, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I must have been really young and probably I was wanting to break up with someone. I was going, how do I do this? How do I do this? And mum went, I've got the perfect one. You say, I don't know what to do. I'm just so in love with you, and I'm scaring myself with how much I'm in love with you. So I think I need to.
Either we start
we're
a
gonna have
family
to
now.
start a family
14-year-old
right
Billy.
now, yeah.
Either we start a family right now. Get a mortgage.
I think I must
and-
have been 12 or something. So I was like, Mum, this is so brilliant.
Did it work?
Why has no one given me this advice? Said it, and it was like, you're a weirdo.
Yeah, there we are. Worked, didn't it?
Yeah.
There. So,
The thing is, no one should ever ask someone that's been married for 30 years. You've been out of the game for so long.
That's
you don't know anything about asking someone out because you haven't for 30 years.
I have a lot of imagination and a lot of wisdom.
I think the imagination is where you draw the line. You don't want to ever.
You think that
kind of
I'm
thing.
not relevant in the dating world?
Yeah.
And I think we've got a weird relationship though, in the sense that we're quite close and we do speak about those things, which I think is a nice thing, and I think it's a good thing.
Do you think lots of people don't have that though? And
Lots of my friends have it with their parents, where they will speak very openly with their parents, loads, which I think is a really nice thing. But then I also have friends that, like, when I'll tell them about all the stuff that we speak about, and then they're like, "Oh, what you speak to your parents about that?" But I think it's a very normal, it feels like a very normal thing to me. Maybe that's just.
I suppose
having
you know
grown
what
up.
you know, don't you? Like,
Yeah,
you know, that's.
But
the
I think
only-
I think you. The real thing was that you never shied away from a conversation about it, ever, and you asked questions, and I think that meant that it was much easier to talk about it, because if it was me having to come to you, I think it would have been much harder.
I have this like theory that nowadays with the internet, you're going to get all the information anyway. You get it from your peers.
Yeah.
Plus you get it from the internet now. So you used to get it from your peers. Now you get it from your peers and the internet. So I have this slight theory that if you don't talk about it as parents, you're literally the only people not talking about it.
Well, I think that's
Yeah.
kind
They're
of
going
true.
to get all the information
that's-
anyway.
And the internet can be quite misleading, I think. I see a lot of kind of memes and things.
Yeah, I do remember that day when Billy, you came home, which you're about 8, I think, and you came home and we talked quite openly, but it was like not about everything, but just sort of openly about, you know, it was very matter of fact. It was my brother who actually just said, if they ask a question, just reply and then drop the subject. Don't ever lie. Just say it straight.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, okay, I must try and do this. And he came back and said, I went to somebody else's house and we looked up something on the internet. And I said, oh, thinking, okay, I've got to look really cool. So I went, oh, what did you look up? And he said, we looked up sex. And I went, oh, okay. And so what did you see when you looked up sex? And I was thinking, okay, I've got to like think, what would he have seen if he'd looked up that? So I was like, okay, what I said, the thing is, Billy, is that when you look things up on the internet, there's some things that are more normal and some things that are not so normal. But because they're all on a screen, on a square screen, you won't be able to know what's normal and not normal. So you need to
What
be
did I
able
say?
to
I don't
come and
remember.
ask me about it if you see anything, and then I can, you know, hopefully we can chat about it. And I said, so, you know, that's how it is. And you said, what would not be normal then? To which I was like, oh my God. I was like, and I was thinking, okay, so what's the not normal thing he might have seen? And I thought, okay, probably if you looked up sex. So thinking I was being a really good parent, I said, well, you know, normally it might be 2 people who are kissing, and on the internet you might see 3 people kissing. And I said, what did you see? And you went, oh, it was a girl in some underwear. And I went, oh. Anyway, I'd gone too far. That was a really, really bad piece of parenting. You looked a bit confused. And
I probably was really confused.
Really
right? Yeah.
confused. And all it probably did
I
is
knew
meant
what to search
drove
up
you
next
back-
time, though.
Drove you back to the internet to look up three
three
people kissing. I'm like, oh, God.
I didn't even know you. That literally broadened my horizons. I thought that
Literally
was
a terrible piece of parenting there. Anyway, so dating, maybe it's actually more similar than we think, but you are more exposed to things, so maybe the chatting is a good thing.
I think you have to speak, and I also think that one of the good things about speaking to your parents, as opposed to your peers, especially about relationships and dating advice and that sort of thing, I think is because they've got experience, and I think that that's something that.
Maybe not as much as you have, apparently. So, yeah.
No.
But we do have, what you do have as parents is, as a bit of a general rule, we might not make the right decisions, but most parents genuinely have your best interests at heart.
Yeah.
So I think maybe people do the same stuff as they always did, but there's like different stages, aren't there? So when I was young, if you were kind of like with somebody and you were doing active things with them, then it was reasonable to suppose that they wouldn't go and kiss someone else. So that was kind of cool.
That's still pretty much how it works, I would say.
Okay, so that was going out.
Yeah,
Unless it's got a label on it as a not that kind of thing.
Well, what's that label?
Look, I don't think it's changed that much. I don't think it's changed that much. I think that if you'd be irritated, if you'd be really annoyed that the person you're seeing would go and kiss, if they went to go and kiss someone else, don't go and kiss someone else, because do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But is that dating?
I don't think you need. I don't
that's
think
called
you need
going with or something.
I don't think you need.
No,
No, it's like
if you're talking to a girl, that means.
Well, that's what we're doing now.
But the thing is
I'm just trying to break it down.
No,
because
Charlie's
that
going to
actually
bring
is
out
how it
lots and lots of lingo that actually doesn't really matter. There is like loads of different sort of
Weird lingo.
stages of it.
Okay, so if you're talking to a girl, that means that you're kind of seeing whether you like each other.
Are you kissing?
Yeah, you might be.
Well,
You
that's
could be
not
going out-
talking.
you could-
That's kissing.
No, but
No, talking
You wouldn't normally do.
Talking would be more if you were texting them online.
Texting them online. You're kind of texting
Maybe
them
even
online.
sexting them online.
No, okay, let's just get like sexting them before
Drops
you've
it.
kissed.
Well, yeah.
What?
Yeah. That also
Okay,
brings
sorry,
up
but-
brings up problems though, because you cannot. Yeah.
Is
You can be
sexting
like,
actually having
know-
sex
I
online?
know some friends that have sexted people and they've never kissed. You know.
Is okay? Is
Got some friends.
Yeah, a couple of friends.
is sexting normal? Sexting is just really weird.
No, you're right.
It's not.
You're right.
It's not
really
that
weird.
It's not
really
that.
weird.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
It's
yeah, really
it's
weird.
really
Have you
weird.
sexted someone
Sick.
you haven't kissed?
It's yes. No.
Oh, you're like a pervert. Is sexting? Do you show any of your body?
Yeah.
Do you show all of your body?
It depends
If you
on
want
how
to.
seriously you want to take it.
On how serious you want to.
Are you the only two people your age who have done this?
You want to get
No.
to on the sexting? Which sexting base you want to get
It's
to?
a sexting base.
Yeah.
There aren't bases. Billy's making it up. Billy.
Sometimes,
Wait.
Sometimes you just kiss the like camera on the like phone. Sometimes that's just it.
That's not.
That's what
people
you
do.
use. That's what you do. People weren't very impressed when Charlie used to send them. That was the problem.
I mean,
I had a few camera tricks or two. Don't you worry.
hang on. I want to know: is your generation
Zero-
all doing
0.5
this?
It's freezing
revolutionises
cold
again.
in this room.
Is this normal for your generation?
It's Arctic in here, but I'll send one anyway.
I think we should probably add that sexting should only happen between consenting adults of an appropriate age. And as well, you should be a bit careful about your digital footprint that you leave behind. Although maybe that's a subject for a whole episode in itself, because Is it only my generation that really worries about digital footprint? Or I kind of wonder, I wonder if in 30 years' time anyone will care about your digital footprint.
Because phones are now such a big thing. Say if you were to be, okay, so you have times when you're away from like dad, for example. But
I did have to stay away sometimes. I'd ring him on the telephone.
You'd ring him on the telephone, but then you've got FaceTime is just a kind of a way of doing
Surely
that.
you would FaceTime him as opposed to...
Well, they didn't have FaceTime in those days.
Yeah, exactly. But if you had FaceTime, you probably would do FaceTime.
Okay, this is going to be really
And then
horrible.
it's just
I'm just going to get this completely over and done with. I'm just going to ask, when you were ringing on the telephone, did it ever...
Moving on.
So what are the different levels of
dating
that we have? Because you've got talking,
yeah,
seeing. You could be seeing each other.
Is that after talking?
But if you're seeing someone, it's still not like you're not. You probably haven't introduced them to your family.
Yeah, we're kind of seeing each other.
But that means that you're. If you're seeing someone, you're probably seeing them.
You're sort of.
You're having sexuals.
We're linking.
That's a word that I think I left in 2019. Hopefully,
linking, and then you fundamentally, I don't think it much has changed. I think that if you're together with someone and you'd be pissed off if they snog someone else, and they'll be pissed off if you snog someone else. You're boyfriend and girlfriend.
Okay, just a few different titles along the way.
Yeah.
Maybe it's how you get to that point.
People
That's
you
different.
have to ask them out, which I think is fair.
I don't. I think it's.
Like you
am I allowed to swear on this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, that's okay.
That's fucking cool.
Okay. I can't really
Honestly,
remember where I was going with it now.
That with soap later. Each week, I'm going to bring you guys something I've seen online that I don't understand completely or at all. So I was wondering this week if you could tell me, what is a Nepo baby? I mean, I know what nepotism is, but what's a Nepo baby?
Well, I think it started a couple of years ago when who's that actor from Euphoria?
Judd.
No, Maud Apatow.
Yeah.
And then people found out that she was the daughter of Leslie Mann and Judd Apatow, and they discovered that her parents were quite famous, and then that suddenly there was a tweet, I think, I can't really remember.
Yeah.
So for some reason, people kind of felt betrayed and like she had lied to them. That seems unfair for me to say, but I think that it is probably true. People felt betrayed by it.
So I think that sort of started this whole trend of people uncovering actors where their parents have also been involved in Hollywood or other successful.
By uncovering, were they covering it up though?
I don't think they were covering it up as much as they were
not celebrating it.
Okay, so what is that based on fame or based on success? So if you had
fame.
So why
and success, I think. I think that a Nepo kid is basically someone who, I mean, there are lots of different meanings, I guess. I think what people mostly mean is like when your parents are successful, famous, or in a position where when you want to do something, you're automatically succeeding. So I guess we're Nepo babies.
No, because I don't have a rock band.
We automatically got on TV just because you were on TV.
But you don't want to be on TV. You want to be have a rock band.
That doesn't matter. We were allowed. We were given
the exposure.
We were given the exposure, and we were given the opportunity to do that. Regardless.
Okay, so if I had a really big, I don't know, plumbing company, and you wanted to be plumbers, and you got a foot in the door, would you be a Nepo baby?
Yeah, but no one would really be interested because you're not in the.
I think that's.
No one's watching your life.
I think there is.
So it's if you're in any sort of public eye. So what if you were like? So you can be a farmer and your kids can get into farming, but if you're a farmer on telly and your kid gets into farmer, then you're a Nepo baby. But you're not if you're not on telly.
Yeah.
So it's basically
what's-
somebody on telly.
So what's like the biggest example of a Nepo baby would be Jaden and Willow Smith, and like because their parents were so famous and successful, that means that like the kind of the industry that they moved into, they were
Okay, so I mean, I can see that.
automatically. And I'm not saying that they're bad at what they do, 'cause they're
Hollywood
not.
is literally built up of Nepo babies, so that's how it works. Most people that are in Hollywood, their parent was
Dakota
involved with
Johnson.
Hollywood.
Yeah, but most people in the
Farming industry, their parents were in farming.
yeah
Yeah.
and I mean that is the saying. Such Smith and Sons is because obviously
Yeah,
daughters
I think the only reason people don't like Nepo babies is because
is it negative always?
No.
no.
I think it can
it's
be. It can be negative. I think
It's not a compliment.
I think it tends to be negative when people when you're the son of someone who's successful, and you've been given and certain doors have opened to you because of who your parents are, and you're not aware of that. I think that's what people find irritating.
So gratitude.
So gratitude. I also think that people find it. I mean, people. If you're jealous, if you're a jealous person, I think that you can. It's you see someone success and you go, it's a bit annoying because they haven't maybe
Just had it handed to them.
They've had it handed to them. They haven't had to work that hard.
So it's somebody else. So it's someone else's opinion that it's been handed to you.
Someone else's opinion, but then also there's.
But you have, as I always
But
say,
the difference is, so we've had exposure handed to us, which is, I mean, it's absolutely amazing, and I'm eternally grateful for it. But the truth is, no one is going to listen to our music unless it's good.
yeah. So you've got to work really hard.
We've got to for people to listen to our music. I think it needs to be as good as anyone else. It's
think it has to be better.
It's just
But
we have the chance to.
So my theory is this: is that first of all, like I think I was really fortunate because I was born in the UK, and that gave me opportunity. And I was born in the UK at the time I was, and not like 50 years before. So women were allowed to more opportunity, not as many as they have now, and it's not equal yet, but hopefully we'll get there. But I think there's lots of things that I was really fortunate for, and so I started my career on like rung 8 of 20. So I had to. I
Because
already
you didn't
had got
come from like a war zone as a refugee.
yeah, and I wasn't hungry, and I mean, my mum died when I was young, but I had a dad who was there, and I wasn't hungry, and I had a bed, and I was really lucky in so many ways. I've got a brother who I'm really close to, and I've got lots of family. So I've got lots of, and some people don't have a home, and they don't have food, and they don't have parents, and they don't have, there's so many people less fortunate than me.
Yeah.
So I kind of think because I started quite a long way up the ladder, I have to get higher because I've got to, because I already started at the bottom. So I do see this term, I just think, as you're saying, children of, say, Will Smith, I kind of think they've started higher up, so they've got to get higher up.
But they have as well. Actually, they're doing quite well. Willow's
They're doing really well. They're doing.
But you
really
called
well.
yourself the Entitled Sons as your band.
Yeah.
And why did you do that? Because it is, some people think that's a hateful word.
We called it. Well, the reason that we called ourselves the Entitled Sons is because we wanted to.
And why not privileged sons?
It
Or
was-
do you not think you're privileged?
No, I do know. I think we're massively privileged, but it was basic. The reason is because everyone was already calling us entitled. Everyone was already saying that we were unaware of how privileged we were. We had zero idea of how lucky we were.
And to be honest, I think when we were younger and started the band, we didn't really. There was an element of.
Of course we did, because otherwise we wouldn't have called ourselves the Entitled Sons. But the reason that we did is because even before we started making music, in the show, people were just constantly on Twitter going, "Oh, these entitled sons, Sarah's entitled sons, blah blah blah," and so they were saying this, and then that's why we decided to retake it. And so it was a bit of a you to everyone who was going, "Well, these guys, what the hell? These guys don't know how
We wanted everyone to know that we knew
to know
that we are really, really privileged. And I mean, entitled is definitely a negative word. So it's sort of it's meant to be a bit ironic.
Yeah.
But
Could you have called yourself Nepo babies?
Well, that was the other name that we were.
Oh, was
that
it?
was the other name,
yeah.
Okay.
Probably would have gone down a bit better.
Nepo kids with a Z. So everyone knows that we're.
So are you Nepo babies?
Yeah.
I would say,
Yeah.
Oh, are you?
Yeah. And then if people
sounds kind of cute and cuddly in a way.
and then
doesn't
if
it?
people
Until
think
you
we're not,
about
then
it.
that's fine. But I think
yeah.
if we call ourselves that, then at least we don't have people going.
Then other people can't call you it because you've
Well,
already called
Well,
it.
no, they can. I think the thing is,
and if they do, that just means that you're an A-lister.
if we think we're not Nepo babies, then we're not realizing how much we've been given. And that's something. But then I think a Nepo baby is a name for like Will Smith's kids. Do you know what I mean? It's not
Not a Z-listers kids.
as amazing as you are.
You're saying not a Z-listers kids. So you're not really a Nepo baby.
No,
but you
no, I
kind
think
of
we are.
accept it if someone says it.
We've had a leg up, but I wouldn't. Maybe we're Nepo babies. I don't know.
Because it's that.
Everyone else can decide.
With TikTok, there are a lot of Nepo babies. And I think what the thing is that when they're open about it, then people are very accepting. Why wouldn't they be? But they sort of, it's all
You mean when
fine.
you own it?
Yeah, when you
Yeah.
own it. When you own it, it's fine. But I think the real problem is when people find out that and they discover it and they go, actually, hold on, this person has been quite quiet about the fact that, you know.
So
his
like
dad
in the
has this
olden
or his
days,
mum has this.
you'd have Johnson and Sons. You'd have a sign outside.
Yeah, if you own it, yeah.
it.
And
then,
also, if your surname's the same, if your surname's the same, then you're not shying away from it in any way, are you? You're not,
so basically, as long as you
owning it, I think is what is,
and being grateful for the
and being
step-up.
grateful. Yeah.
I put out a post on Instagram asking people what conversations they struggle to have with either their kids or their parents, and I thought we'd tackle one of those after the break. So having asked people on Instagram what they feel they'd like to talk to their children or their parents about more, the one subject that came up a lot is being able to talk to elderly people about their wishes with dying. And the word dying is not a subject that people want to talk about until it's too late.
What, like a will? Like
Kind of like a living will or what their wishes would be. And I guess...
in what way?
That is always going to be quite a difficult conversation, though, isn't it?
Why?
Once you're
I don't think it is that difficult.
once you're dead, what am I? Because no matter how you word it and how close you are with your parents, it will always give the impression of kind of, what am I getting out of it? Do you know
But
what I
that's
mean?
the problem. So that's the problem because people feel they can't talk to their parents about it because it looks like they're trying to get something out of it. And instead of saying, what would you like to do? Okay, at some point you're going to be less able to look after yourself. So, talking about how, I think I'd love to be able to talk to you about what I'd like if I'm ill. Just basically to be honest, send me to Switzerland. But it's a conversation that we don't talk about enough. The fact is, it's the only thing we definitely are all going to do. That is 100% certain. But we don't talk about it, do we, really, in this country?
Yeah, it's weird because I find myself not saying the word. It's like if someone has died, I find myself like struggling to say the word has died. Do you know what I mean? So it'll be like passed away or is no longer with us, to try and just get around the actual fact of it. Do you know what I mean?
I think we speak about it quite a lot in the sense that that I think you've got quite an interesting relationship with death because your mum died when you were young, which means that I think you're much more open to talking about it, which means that, again, we're probably more open to speaking about it.
That's probably
you
true.
Were and then again, when you had cancer, I think that was also another conversation topic that we were speaking about a lot because it was like, look, suddenly it's not.
It's really real, very real.
Yeah, you're not
Although I
as
had no
immortal as
intention
you
of
might.
dying.
No, I know, and actually, it's
But
going
yes,
to take more than that. But you seem very mortal suddenly, if that makes sense.
Yes, you're more.
As opposed to being
Yeah, I think
my mum
talking
and
about
being
it is
immortal.
easy. I suppose when I was young, my mum had cancer, and I didn't even. It wasn't discussed that she had cancer, and I was younger than you, so I was only 10. But it wasn't discussed she had cancer, and to be honest, I didn't know she was dying. I thought she was going to sleep. Yeah. I overheard the doctor saying she won't wake up. That's her. She's gone. And I went, well, gone where?
Yeah.
Like what are you talking about?
But then 10, that's harder to.
Yeah.
You can't really just have an open conversation.
Not really, but then you just don't talk about it. What you do is you don't talk about it.
Yeah, you don't
all.
talk about it, but actually you should.
And that doesn't mean you don't feel. It just means you don't talk about it. And sometimes I think if we could open those conversations, maybe it's a chat for another day. Maybe we should do a chat another day about how people can open up conversations about where their parents live or how they live, or to have a power of attorney. And how do you trust them? And how? I mean, I think that's one of the difficulties with older people is that they don't really trust anyone. They don't want to give up their financial independence to their children. And at what point do you become the parent to your parents? Yeah. And there's an irony, I think, with parents. It certainly happened with my father as he got older, is that you end up basically you're parenting your parent whilst pretending to be a child, which is ironic because it's actually easier to parent if they are the children and you are the parent. But with your parents, you're pretending to be a child whilst you parent them, which is just really weird. And that's a kind of weird, maybe that's just the way it is. I mean, it's a big subject and I think we should talk about it another time. But I think the thing that's come out of this is if you're a child and you've got parents, try and open the conversation. If you're parents and you've got children, try and open the conversation. And you can always go to Hospice UK, who've got a really good campaign, which is called Dying Matters. And there you should be able to find a bit more information about how to open that conversation and how to get people talking. So how do you feel about the first podcast?
I thought it was fun, actually.
Did you?
I enjoyed it.
It's not very hard work, is it? Kind of just sitting on the sofa, waffling. I mean, I imagine I've probably just made up loads and loads of shit. I don't even know what I've said.
Are you worried no one's going to bother listening to this?
Yeah, I'm more worried that people are going to bother listening to it. To be honest.
Well, I enjoyed it. So thank you very much for joining me. And we'll see you on Seriously next week. If you'd like to submit a topic for us to discuss, please email us. The address is mail@seriouslywithsarahbeanie.co.uk. Seriously was created by me, your host, Sarah Beanie, and our producer, Jonathan Profaska. The show is recorded and edited by Jonathan Profaska and Christian Kay.